The dinar daily. Over the years, countless discussions have swirled around the possibility of the Iraqi dinar revaluation, often shortened to RV. Each rumor or unverified report has sent ripples through the community of holders who have patiently waited to see whether their long-term commitment might eventually intersect with a historic financial event. But recently, the conversation has taken on a tone unlike what many have observed before. For the first time in years, the exchanges happening online and across discussion boards seem sharper, more direct, and filled with stronger references to structured processes rather than vague speculation. At the center of this latest wave of attention is a term that continues to circulate at a rapid pace, something referred to as Tier 4B appointments. For some, this phrase is entirely new, while for others, it represents an evolution of a long-standing belief that the revaluation process will occur in controlled stages, bringing ordinary holders into focus after years of institutional dominance. For much of the past decade, speculation surrounding the revaluation has had a familiar rhythm. A sudden piece of information would surface, holders would rally in excitement, and then silence would follow. That cycle has repeated so often that many have become cautious, even skeptical when new rumors arise. But what is notable about the current moment is how much of the conversation seems to be tied to logistics rather than abstract timelines. Instead of broad statements about a revaluation happening soon, the dialogue now touches on structured phases, verification processes, and even the scheduling of individual appointments. For many holders, this shift alone feels significant. It suggests that even if the end result is still uncertain, the community is beginning to align around tangible ideas of how such a rollout might look. And it is this evolving focus that has elevated Tier 4B into one of the most discussed subjects in recent weeks. To understand why Tier 4B matters, it's important to step back and look at how many in the community categorize the process. The concept of tiers has long been part of the conversation, breaking down groups that might participate in the revaluation into categories. Tier 1, for example, is often believed to include governments, central banks, and other powerful institutions that would naturally be at the front of any financial line. Tier 2 is generally considered to represent major financial organizations and entities with substantial contracts or holdings. Tier 3 usually refers to private arrangements and specific agreements tied to unique groups. That leaves Tier 4, which is widely viewed as the phase where individual holders, ordinary people, finally become involved. Within that tier, a distinction has emerged between 4A and 4B, with 4B being seen as the true representation of everyday holders, who have waited patiently for their opportunity. The conversations about Tier 4B appointments paint a picture of a process that would look very different from simply walking into a bank with dinar notes in hand. Instead, the discussion suggests that holders might receive secure communications, perhaps through protected channels, inviting them to schedule a specific time at a designated location. These would not be typical bank branches but specialized redemption centers equipped to handle the process in an orderly and secure manner. The reasoning behind this model is straightforward. By controlling scheduling and locations, authorities could ensure that the exchange unfolds in a structured way, preventing disorder or overwhelming financial institutions with a sudden surge of activity. For holders, the mere suggestion of such appointments feels like the closest thing yet to practical inclusion in the process. Naturally, this idea has fueled a wave of excitement. Many have imagined what it might be like to finally receive that invitation, to confirm an appointment after years of uncertainty, and to walk into a structured exchange that represents the culmination of patience and vigilance. But excitement is often followed by questions. Who would oversee these appointments? Would every holder have equal access at the same rate? Could location or timing influence what each individual receives? These concerns show the dual nature of anticipation: on one hand, the thrill of participation, and on the other, the anxiety of unknown details. Community discussions now regularly include both enthusiastic speculation and cautious reminders to remain grounded until real, verified reports emerge. The practical side of the imagined Tier 4B process begins with verification. Any exchange of currency on a scale this large would inevitably require careful identity checks. Redemption centers or banks would need to confirm that each individual is who they claim to be, ensuring that the system is protected against fraud or misuse. Once identification is confirmed, the focus would shift to the currency itself. Authentic Iraqi dinar notes would need to be presented, counted, and validated by trained staff using specialized equipment. This step ensures not only fairness but also security, protecting both holders and institutions from counterfeit or damaged notes entering circulation. These steps, while procedural, are essential in painting a realistic picture of how an exchange might work. Some discussions suggest that holders could be offered different options once their currency is validated. One possibility involves a standard public rate, the same for all participants, ensuring equality across the board. Another scenario that circulates in community conversations hints at the existence of private or project-linked rates, potentially higher but tied to specific commitments or structured arrangements. Whether such options would actually exist remains unknown, but the very discussion underscores how much thought holders are putting into planning for multiple possible outcomes. The exchange process, as imagined, would then conclude with funds credited to individual accounts, perhaps with restrictions or guidelines depending on the choices made. For many, these details highlight why preparation in advance is so strongly emphasized. Beyond logistics, the emotional weight of Tier 4B appointments cannot be understated. For years, holders have lived with uncertainty, often hearing rumors that never materialized, and at times even facing skepticism from those around them. The idea of finally receiving a secure message, of having a time and place scheduled, represents more than a financial transaction defies validation. For countless individuals, it would mark the point where years of patience and perseverance intersect with reality. This psychological milestone explains why the community responds so strongly to every new whisper about Tier 4B. It is not just about currency. It is about closure, recognition, and the fulfillment of long-held expectations. Timing, of course, remains one of the most sensitive aspects of the discussion. Rumors that the process could begin this week have ignited debates, with some suggesting that if it does start, the initial wave of invitations may be sent quietly. In such a scenario, only those directly contacted would know, leaving many others waiting and watching without confirmation until their own message arrives. This uncertainty has heightened the urgency within the community, encouraging holders to have their identification prepared, their notes organized, and their personal plans ready. The recognition that sudden access to significant funds can create overwhelming decisions has led many to stress the importance of careful financial planning before the moment actually arrives. In parallel with the chatter about appointments, there have been reports of leaked documents that appear to relate to Iraq's redenomination project. Redenomination, as understood in economic terms, is a process where a country restructures its currency, often by removing zeros, issuing new notes, or simplifying the counting system. Importantly, redenomination does not automatically guarantee a higher exchange rate. Instead, it represents an effort to modernize the currency, improve day-to-day usability, and align the national financial system with broader economic reforms. If the documents are authentic, they may signal that Iraq is moving closer to practical steps that could support broader changes, whether or not they directly link to the revaluation many are anticipating. For ordinary holders, the possibility that redenomination and Tier 4B appointments are being discussed simultaneously suggests momentum. Smaller, updated banknotes would simplify everyday transactions inside Iraq, while a structured exchange process would provide clarity to those outside the country holding dinar. Together, these steps could indicate that officials are working toward reforms designed to stabilize and modernize the currency. The international community often interprets redenomination projects as signs of serious intent, particularly when paired with measures that align with global financial practices. For this reason, many holders view the circulation of such reports as another potential sign that the long-discussed reforms may be closer to implementation. At the same time, the cautionary voices within the community are quick to remind everyone that documents can be misinterpreted or taken out of context. Redenomination projects have been discussed in Iraq for years, sometimes postponed or reshaped depending on political or economic conditions. Linking such reports directly
To an immediate revaluation remains speculative without official confirmation. This reminder plays an important role in keeping expectations balanced, ensuring that while hope remains high, it is tempered by an awareness of history. The experience of repeated rumors in the past has taught many holders the importance of approaching new developments with both interest and careful judgment. Still, the layered discussion of appointments, verification processes, and redenomination suggests that the conversation is moving into more structured territory than ever before. No longer is it only about whether a revaluation will happen, but rather how it might unfold if it does. This progression in dialogue matters because it indicates that the community is preparing itself not just for the possibility, but for the mechanics of participation, and that preparation, both practical and emotional, is shaping the current moment as one of heightened anticipation and readiness, ****, as conversations deepen. One of the recurring themes is the idea of structure. Many holders are beginning to see the possibility that if the revaluation does unfold, it won't be a sudden or chaotic event. Instead, it is envisioned as a carefully orchestrated rollout designed to maintain stability and fairness. Tier 4B represents a stage in that structure where everyday participants finally step into a system that has long been dominated by institutions and governments. This order matters because
financial systems rely on predictability, and sudden shocks can create risks not only for the nation involved but also for global markets. The notion of scheduled appointments, verification, and phased exchanges reflects this need for order. It also reassures holders that, if they are called upon, the process will be managed with oversight rather than left to individual interpretation. That reassurance plays a critical role in keeping confidence alive during periods of speculation. Another dimension that emerges in community discussions is the question of fairness. Holders frequently ask whether everyone will receive the same opportunities under Tier 4B or if differences will emerge depending on when and where they exchange. Some imagine that being among the first to participate could yield advantages, while others believe that a uniform rate will be maintained across the board to ensure equality. The uncertainty around this question has sparked debate, with some advising patience to avoid rushed decisions, while others emphasize readiness in case opportunities differ by timing. These debates highlight the complexity of preparing for a process that has not yet been officially defined. They also reveal the anxieties that ordinary participants feel when considering how years of waiting could translate into a single, decisive moment. Adding to these conversations are reminders of the broader economic realities Iraq faces. The nation's economy has experienced both challenges and progress in recent years, from efforts to diversify beyond oil to attempts at modernizing financial institutions. Currency reforms are often tied to such broader developments, with redenomination serving as one tool among many to stabilize and rebuild trust in the monetary system. For holders outside Iraq, it can be easy to focus solely on the RV narrative, but within Iraq, redenomination would be primarily about improving daily life, simplifying transactions, reducing confusion, and restoring confidence in the value of the dinar. This dual perspective is important because it emphasizes that while international holders are waiting for appointments, Iraqi citizens are awaiting a currency system that functions more efficiently in their everyday lives. In light of this, the speculation about leaked documents takes on additional meaning. If Iraq is indeed preparing new notes or planning a restructuring of how its currency is counted, it would represent a concrete step toward modernization. Such measures often require years of preparation, from designing and printing new bills to updating banking infrastructure and educating the public. For holders abroad, these steps could indicate that reforms are reaching an executable stage, adding weight to the belief that Tier 4B appointments may not be far behind. However, without official announcements, these remain interpretations of incomplete information. That uncertainty keeps the community locked in a cycle of anticipation, balancing excitement with caution. Throughout these discussions, the emotional component remains central. Many holders describe the psychological toll of waiting years of monitoring news updates, analyzing rumors, and preparing for a moment that has yet to arrive. Tier 4B appointments, if activated, would mark the culmination of that long process. For some, it would feel like validation of choices made years ago. For others, it would represent closure after years of uncertainty. The intensity of that emotional buildup explains why every new piece of information, whether confirmed or speculative, resonates so strongly. This is not simply about currency. It is about the human experience of enduring uncertainty and hoping for resolution. As anticipation grows, so too does the emphasis on preparation. Community leaders and experienced holders often remind others to focus on practical readiness rather than speculation. That includes organizing currency, ensuring identification documents are current, and developing a plan for how to handle potential outcomes. This advice extends beyond logistics into financial planning, urging individuals to think carefully about how they would manage sudden access to significant funds. While nobody can confirm exact details of how the exchange will unfold, the act of preparing instills a sense of control in a situation otherwise dominated by uncertainty. It shifts focus from, "When will this happen?" to, "Am I ready if it does?" One of the more intriguing aspects of current discussions is the idea that the first wave of Tier 4B appointments could happen quietly. In this scenario, select holders would receive notifications without any public announcement, allowing the process to begin gradually rather than all at once. For the broader community, this raises the possibility that the process could already be underway without widespread awareness. Such a model would align with the concept of order and control, but it also fuels speculation and impatience among those still waiting for confirmation. The possibility of a silent rollout adds another layer of uncertainty, encouraging holders to remain vigilant in monitoring communications and community updates. Skepticism, however, remains a constant companion in these conversations. Many remind their peers that similar predictions have surfaced countless times in the past, only to fade without materializing. This history of unmet expectations has left some wary of allowing excitement to overshadow judgment. Skeptics argue that until verifiable proof emerges, such as a holder completing an appointment and confirming the outcome, everything remains speculative. This cautious stance plays an important role in tempering enthusiasm, ensuring that the community does not drift into unfounded assumptions. By encouraging balance, skepticism helps maintain credibility within discussions that could otherwise spiral into unfettered rumor. Despite this, the energy around Tier 4B has reached levels not seen in years. The imagery of ordinary holders finally receiving invitations, presenting their notes, and walking away with confirmation of funds has created a powerful narrative. Even in the absence of official announcements, the collective imagination of the community is shaping how people prepare and what they expect. This dynamic illustrates the power of anticipation itself. Whether or not the process begins this week, the act of preparing has already created change. Individuals are more organized, more alert, and more engaged than they have been in some time. That heightened vigilance reflects the enduring hope that has carried the community through years of uncertainty. Practical considerations extend beyond logistics into questions of safety and security. Discussions about traveling to redemption centers, handling large sums of currency, and ensuring personal safety during the process are common in community forums. Holders recognize that participating in such an exchange would carry responsibilities, from protecting one's own security to making thoughtful decisions about finances. These conversations highlight the seriousness with which many are approaching the possibility of Tier 4B. It is not only about receiving funds but also about managing the experience responsibly to avoid unnecessary risks. Another recurring theme is the psychological preparation required for such a significant transition. The long wait has created a rhythm of anticipation followed by disappointment, and suddenly shifting from that cycle into action could be overwhelming. Community members often encourage one another to remain calm, focused, and steady in their approach. Understanding the steps in advance verification, validation, potential rate options, and account crediting helps reduce uncertainty and anxiety. By mentally rehearsing what the process could look like, holders hope to be better prepared to handle the real experience when it finally arrives. The discussions about redenomination and Tier 4B also raise broader questions about Iraq's path toward modernization. Aligning its currency system with global standards would not only impact holders but also strengthen Iraq's position in international markets. For foreign investors and financial partners, such steps signal commitment to reform and stability. While holders focus on appointments, officials within Iraq may view redenomination as a way to facilitate trade, attract investment, and restore confidence in the dinar domestically. This dual lens, international anticipation on one hand and national reform on the other, underscores the complexity of the moment. It is not only about individual participation but also about the broader trajectory of a country seeking to rebuild and stabilize. As the community continues to watch and wait, one undeniable truth emerges: preparation and vigilance are becoming habits. Holders check messages daily, review updates from news outlets, and analyze every detail of rumors and leaks. This constant monitoring reflects both the stakes involved and the emotional weight of the long wait. For many, the possibility that this could finally be the week adds urgency to those habits, intensifying the focus on readiness. Even without official confirmation, the act of preparing creates a sense of progress, as if each step taken to organize or plan brings the moment closer.